Okay, let's move on to blood. I'm just gonna disable the display flag for those. Jump into Vellum blood, create an object merge, and let's bring in the same Vellum meat here as well. Okay, good. So what I want to do is I want to use the inside of this to generate some blood. Okay, so what we're going to do is first of all delete the outside. Okay, so we only have the inside, and then if I go in here, you'll see we have our position and okay, so that tells me something. I need to add rest. So I'm going to come back here, and before we feed this into the sim, or even up here in fact, so I'm going to put in a rest position just after the group 2 before the constraints. Okay, now if I go back into blood, you should see rest here. Yeah, there you go. So that's good. So we need that. What we're going to do is I'm going to create a point wrangle. Point wrangle. And I'm going to say delta, f at del p. Come on. F at del p equals at p minus at rest. And I'm going to say the first one is actually a vector. This one is a vector. This one will be float. F at difference, I don't know, whatever you want to call, is length at del p. Okay, it'll give you the length of the vector. Okay, good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in another delete node, and I'm going to say points delete by expression at difference is greater than 1, let's say, and delete non-selected. So I'm going to run this and I'll come back to you. Okay, I've done it, and I'm just going to play this. Nothing is actually coming up. All right, so I'm going to try and change this to, let's change this to 0.1. There you go. So initially you will have nothing, and when they separate from its original rest position, it starts to appear. There you go. So that's looking good. All right, but I think it's too much. If you were to use all of this, it's going to create a lot of blood, and that's not very good. All right, so we're going to introduce something else now. So let me say bring in object merge and go back into meat. I'm going to bring in this constraints into this object. All right, and the reason is because in here there's an attribute here called stress. Okay, I'm going to make use of that. So attribute transfer. So that's from. Okay, good. So that's a primitive attribute. I'm going to, stress. I'm going to attribute promote this to points. Stress. Okay, good. And I'm going to put in a delete node. I'm going to say points and delete by expression at stress is greater than 200. It's just a number I know worked for me. So anything greater than 200, you don't want to delete, I guess. I don't know. Let's start with 1. There. So it's only going to come up with anything that has got a stress of 10, or let's say delete selected, maybe okay, I'm just gonna say 1 for now and delete non-selected. So it's gonna bring up, yeah, very little amount of it. All right, so what if we change this to, let's change this to 0.1. There you go. That looks pretty sweet, I think. So if I look at that part, before and after, okay, so let's say 0.2. There you go. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, let's move on. I also do want to do something else, right? So if I push this, so you can see how long this is being active. All right, maybe I don't want that, because sometimes it's going to be active and still generating particles for fluid. I don't want that, so I only want it to last, let's say 2 to 3 frames, or maybe 10 frames, I don't know, whatever. Okay, so let's do that now. All right. So I'm going to create, before I delete it, I'm going to create an attribute before I use the stress deletion. Okay, so I'm going to call this age, and I'm going to say this is point, and this will be an integer, and a value will be 1. Okay, good. And I think that's good. I'm going to create a SOP solver. Where is it? Solver. Sorry, not SOP solver. Right. I'm going to go inside, and I'm going to create a point or angle. And the first one connects to previous frame, and the second one connects to input. And let's type in I at age, INC, age increment, plus equals 0.1, comma, age within brackets at pt num. There, close brackets. And then I will do an attribute transfer to the input one from the previous frame. So I want to transfer age increment. Okay, so you see age is here, and age increment is currently set at 0. Okay, so if I go out, and let me add a null, let's just check it out. All right, you see how the age is incrementing? That's what we want. Okay, so it just keeps increasing, and you can see it's going up all the way. And you know, you don't want to stay for it to stay that long. All right, so that's good. It's working perfect. So I'm going to put in another delete node. I'll say age increment here, I guess. All right, I'm going to put in another delete node, and I'm going to say entity points and delete by expression at age inc is greater than 4. Delete it, or I don't know, 4 is a little too small, I think. How about half a second, 12 frames? Okay, it's done it now, so let's check it out. All right, there you go. But it's not deleting it, so I don't know why. Let's check it out. Okay, I figured out why that is. That is because we're deleting points that are above 12, but they are part of the primitive. Okay, so that's why it's sticking around. Okay, so that makes sense, but it does work, which is good. So if I go in here, let's say, and disable this, so you got a lot more points compared to after. Okay, so that's looking good. And that's what we're going to use to create the fluid now, right? So I'm going to put in a null and call it out. That's okay, I guess. Or out. Fluid source, maybe. Right, and I'm going to create a dock network as usual. We call it blood sim and change the default to blood sim here. Select, let's just find a frame where it is visible. Okay, that's good. We go to fluids, nope. Particles, nope, this one. Okay, I'm going to select that, and actually before I do that, I know it's going to ask for another item, so I'm going to create a little grid here. Okay, so go in, click on emit particle fluid and select that. That's the select object to emit fluid from. So we've selected that, press return. Select a fluid object to emit into. So we're going to select the grid for that, press return. Okay, it's done it now. So let's see what's going on. That's a huge box for starters. That's not very good, but we will check it out. There you go. So something is happening. Okay, so something's happening, but I'm just going to put these aside here for a second and uncheck grid. Go back into Vellum blood. So go into blood sim. So let's check this out, right? So first, fluid object. Yeah, that's fine. Then this source here. That's also looking fine. Nothing to change there. Flip solver. Go into particle motion. Is it receding? Somewhere here we will have the setting for the box. So volume motion. There you go. So I'm going to say this is going to be 10 and probably 5 and 10 on this side. Is it too small? I don't know. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create, I don't know, 15 and 10 and 15 and move this up by about 4. Reason 4 is because you definitely want a little bit under the ground plane, alright? Because I've noticed that it actually clips the fluid if I put it exactly at half the way, alright? So that's looking good, and let's check it out now. Oh, now I can see where he's at. You probably don't need that big of a box, so I'm just gonna push this down to 10 and this one to, I don't know, 10 also. Maybe not, actually this one keep it at 15 because this is going to expand later. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna run this and I'll come back. Okay, it's done it now. So there you go. Something's happening, but it's not actually moving at all. So let's, I'm gonna use this side here. So let's go into the sim. Obviously add gravity for starters. Okay, and let's check this out again. Okay, I've got some. There you go. Now it drops down, which is good. Perfect. But we need ground plane. So obviously put in a ground plane. And yeah, there you go. And we also need to bring in the other, where is it? It was in strings. There you go. This part here, the actual collision of the meat. Okay, we need to bring that in. So might as well copy the thing from here. There you go. Put it in. It's looking good. I'm just going to connect that here. All right, LH. All right, looking good. I'm gonna run this now and I'll come back. Okay, I ran through a few frames. Here it is. So it's working, but it's obviously coming out and out of the surface very easily, and also it's very liquidy. All right, so let's fix those things. All right, let's dive into, in fact, I've got it on this side. So I'm just going to go into flip solver and let's see, particle motion. Let's just check one by one. I'm not an expert with flip, so this is just basic stuff that I know. Okay. If you know how to set up fluid for blood, then go ahead, do that setup. All right. So there, I want to add the rest attribute, volume motion. So here, collision viscosity, enable viscosity for sure. We definitely need that. I'm going to enable slip-on collision. That's good. And density, okay. All of that doesn't really matter. I'm not changing any of that. I think that's pretty good. All right, so let's look at the actual fluid object. Initial data. I think add viscosity attribute. So I'll add that. That's looking good. I think these are fine. Physical. All right. Okay, they are looking good. I'm looking for one particular setting that I want. Just give me 1 second. Let me try and figure out where it is. Right, so it's under volume motion, collision. I want to enable stick-on collision. All right, so that's good. All right, perfect. So now I've done that. I also want to go ahead and increase the viscosity to 1, which is in the source under physical. Okay, so I'm going to save this and I'm going to run it and I'll come back. Okay, it's done a few frames now. Let's check it out. Okay, so you can see that. All right, there are a few problems here. First of all, it's just showing up like that. That's not very good. All right, and then there's a lot of blood coming out, but it's not dropping anymore. Okay, so let's fix this one by one. At 13, it's not really breaking that much, but so let's check what's going on here. Yeah, it's already happening here, right? So what I want to do is I actually want to change the difference to 0.4 or something like that, because I don't want it to, let's say here. Yeah, maybe 0.2. How about 0.25? Right, we'll call 0.25 because if I template this, nothing's happening and it's starting to appear, which is actually good. All right, that's fine. And up here, okay, so that's better, but I do want to reduce this a little bit so we get a lot more of it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And let's check this, delete here. I'm going to keep it at 12. I'm not going to change that one. That should be pretty good. And then this one here, I want to change the shell thickness to 0.05, because if I just undo that, and I'm going to go in here, there. So that's what you're currently seeing. That's because of the shell thickness. But if you look at the actual thing, it's so small. And this is probably why the liquid is seeping, penetrating the skin before it breaks. Okay, so I'm going to change this to 0.05. So it's as small as that. And this is going to change how much of blood is coming out, alright? Let's run this now, and I'll come back. Okay, it's done a few frames now. Let's check it out. So, a lot of improvement. You can't see it's seeping through, and it's working fine, properly. But there's not a lot of blood that's coming out, alright? And nothing is dripping. I mean, maybe that's what you like. You can keep it at that. But always remember that when you increase the voxel size or particle separation, you're going to get a lot of that. All right. So bear that in mind. So let me show you what I mean. Right. I'm just going to change it to 0.02, and I'm going to run this and I'll come back. Okay, the sim is now down. Let's check it out. As I said to you, there's a lot of blood coming out. I mean, that's good, I think. But what I don't like is how this is creeping in here. Okay, so let's see if we can try and fix that. All right. So that's what that looks like at frame number 25. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a smooth node. There you go. It reduces it significantly. Okay, so I think that should be sufficient. So before smoothing, after smoothing, that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna do another sim and I'll come back to you. Okay, the sim finished, but it was still doing pretty much what it is doing here, but a lot better actually. But I canceled it, and I went in to look at the actual collision just to make sure that was okay. That looks okay as well. So the only other thing that I can think of is that when this is running, these items are too close to the original surface. So if I zoom in, so these could be like really close to the actual surface, and that's probably why it's seeping out. All right, so let's check it out. See there, that's actually okay, I guess. It's not that bad, but that's what it appears to be. All right, so we will come back to that. All right, for now we're gonna leave it. So that's the fluid done, really. You know, maybe it's to do with the stick-on collision thing. Let me get rid of that, and then I will simulate it, and I'll come back again. So I'm not going to stick it on collision. So okay, the sim is now down. Let's check it out. I think that looks pretty cool, actually. So yeah, it's a lot of blood. That is fantastic. Even though I disabled stick-on collision, it appears like it is sticking, but it's actually not. And also, if you notice at this frame here, it is seeping through a little bit, but it's not as bad as before. So that should be all right. But so for now, you know, I am happy with it. So we're gonna just move on. All right. So I'm gonna go back out here. The shelf tool has created these two for us. Okay, I'm just gonna uncheck that one, and I'm gonna leave it. Leave this one on. Well, it doesn't matter really. So basically all of it is now on. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it. In fact, I'm gonna just copy this whole thing and put it inside of this Vellum blood thing here. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So I can delete these two because I don't need them. So I'm going to enable that. I'm going to do a sim here, and I will come back. Okay, the sim is now down. Let's check it out. Yeah, I think that looks pretty sweet actually. So that's the blood done. The next is that we're going to refine some settings to get a high quality sim out of this before passing it to rendering. In rendering, we're going to create wet map and materials for Redshift and lightings, camera, whatnot. Okay. All right. See you then.